Check, check, check. Who knows? Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome. This is Shelter Radio, and it is the first day of May, so Friday, May 1st. So happy May Day, everybody. You know what May Day is?
No.
Okay, I'll fill you in. May Day is a good day, but so it's a beautiful spring day outside. The sun is shining. We are here. We've been in our house for what now? 7 weeks?
I have no idea.
It's been hard to keep track. This is Maggie.
Hello.
And I'm David. And somewhere out there in Shelter Radio Land, there's a little friend named Silas. And I have been told by your father, Silas, that today is your birthday.
Happy birthday!
And so the plan here today is that we are going to play a song for you, Silas. We're going to play a song that was requested because it is springtime and it is baseball season.
Yep.
Yeah, and we wish that we could be at a White Sox game right now.
Totally.
We totally wish that we could be at a White Sox game right now. All right. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never get back, and we root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame, 'cause it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Should we do it one more time?
Sure.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never get back, and we'll root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame, 'cause it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Yeah. Somebody's knocking at your door. Somebody's knocking at your door. Oh, sinner, why don't you answer? Somebody's knocking at your door. Somebody's knocking at your door. Oh, sinner, why don't you answer? Somebody's knocking at your door.
Knocks like Jesus.
Somebody's knocking at your door. Knocks like Jesus. Somebody's knocking at your door. Oh, sinner, why don't you answer? Somebody's knocking at your door.
Can't you hear him?
Somebody's knocking at your door. Can't you hear him? Somebody's knocking at your door. Oh, sinner, why don't you answer? Somebody's knocking at your door. Somebody's knocking at your door. Somebody's knocking at your door. Oh, sinner, why don't you answer? Somebody's knocking at your door. Somebody's knocking at your door. Thank you, Maggie. May I hug you?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. All right. So, welcome to Shelter Radio. It is Friday, the 1st of May, and that was my daughter, Maggie, and happy birthday, Silas. And yeah, so this is what we do every day. We get together at around 2 in the afternoon Central Time, and we have music and fun, and we play songs, and we get discombobulated, and we try and keep the guitar in tune, and we pray that the internet connection stays, and we talk about life and life in shelter, and we talk about some of the backgrounds behind songs and all of that. So I'm going to be doing all of that day, and that's what we're going to be doing. I got both feet planted firmly in my mouth, so I ain't walking. They both take up so much space, it's a marvel. I still got room for talking. But I just go on spouting off the same old stupid stuff. I'm gonna have to grow another foot just to keep up, just to keep up. Well, do not disturb hangs on the door. I hide inside, I do not say a word. Opportunity comes knocking, I ignore it and pretend I have not heard. I get so tired of being chased by my problems every day. I'm gonna have to grow another foot just to get away, just to get away. Get away, I get away. In the sun and in the rain, find that I'm just the same. I'm not really chasing pleasure, I'm simply dodging pain. I move glacially, I put my best foot forward, but I find it inching back on me. Say you give a man an inch and sure as death and taxes, he'll ask for a yard. Since I found these 3 feet useful, I suppose I am described by that canard. But when I go out dancing, now I found a great excuse. First I tell you I got 2 left feet, then I'll show you the proof. Here's the proof. I got proof. I say 1, 2, 3. 3 feet for me, that's the truth. Oh, okay, so this is a lesson in public relations, because when I released the album with my band Fire Robin, that song, My New Foot, was on the album. And it got reviewed in some papers, big and small, and it got a full-page review in my old alma mater's campus newspaper, the Swanee Purple. And I forget who wrote the review, but whoever wrote the review took that particular song as exemplary of my songwriting style. And, you know, it was a full-page review, and it was great. And normally you'd take a full-page review and you would send it out to everybody, and you'd make it part of your press kit. But unfortunately, the reviewer misheard the lyrics. And so there's a portion in the center part of the song that says, I get so tired of being chased by my problems every day. I'm going to have to grow another foot just to get away. That's not what the reviewer heard. The reviewer heard instead a line that had some cuss words in it and chose to print that instead. And so this became a full-page review that I could not share with anyone because it made it sound like I was a gangster rapper or something like that. And I'm many things, but I'm not a gangster rapper. So, and I do not choose to use those particular words about people, particularly when I'm writing songs. So just a lesson that if you're going to put stuff out into the world, if it's at all possible that it can be misunderstood, provide a lyric sheet. I mean, that's just basic. That's just basic. Yeah. And so, I mean, yeah. Here another raindrop falls like a tinfoil. Here another teardrop falls like lead. Bet you wanna recount faulty on the dismount, bouncing dreams around your head. Better draw me up a blueprint, fill me in the details. There's something here I've missed. Going forward, the big plan, bring along a dustpan. For the man who dares resist, shut your mouth. Whew! The devil's got a phone book, shut your mouth. Calling you, collecting, there's a question you don't want to answer, shut your mouth now. Suddenly the song is jazz. Martin in the foyer, hand on the receiver, making him an offer he will not refuse. Betcha there's a cockroach underneath the carpet or behind the paper on the wall. Martin puts the receiver down and turns around, walks back down the hall. Hey, shut your mouth. Now we've got your number, shut your mouth. Now we're killing time and there's a question you've already answered, shut your mouth now. So, I've said this before, but I'll say it again because it bears repeating. Martin Heidegger was a philosopher in Germany right around the time of the Third Reich, and a book by Avital Ronell called The Telephone Book chronicles the fateful day when Martin Heidegger, the philosopher who helped to shape a lot of the philosophy and theology of the 20th century, got a phone call from the Nazis to ask if he wanted to become a Nazi. And one of the things that Ronell talks about in her book, The Telephone Book, is that anytime that you've picked up a telephone, you've already said yes once. And so what's interesting is that by taking the call, her thesis is that he had already said yes to becoming a Nazi just by receiving the call. How much more so when we have caller ID, right? And we can tell. So anytime that someone has called you and you have caller ID and you look at the caller ID and you say, should I take that call? Just by taking the call, you've already said yes to them once. And remember, a person in marketing will tell you again and again that you only have to get somebody to tell you yes 7 times before they actually buy something. So if you answer the telephone, you've already said yes once. They only have 6 more times before they need to go through before they can sell you on something. Where did that last part come from? I don't know, but just, caveat emptor, be careful, be careful. Some things for you to do online while you're not listening to me would include, please, at 4 p.m. each day, around 4 p.m., Zach Zaya does the Poetry Lockdown. CZAIA is how you spell his last name. And he's been doing it now for almost 50 days, where he goes and he reads a poem or two from a famous poet or sometimes from his own poetry, and then he interprets those poems. And it's always good. It's always informative. I always learn something. So I highly recommend checking out Zach Zaya's Poetry Lockdown. Also, Matt Springer, Monday through Friday at around 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, does the Quarantine Cabaret, and that's a piano-based sort of smorgasbord of music. So sometimes he does show tunes. Sometimes he does a theme. Like the other day, he did a bunch of Paul McCartney songs. Or sometimes he'll do the songs of Elton John. And so that's Matt Springer's Quarantine Cabaret, 3 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday, most Mondays through Fridays. Also, please sign up for Kimono My House. This is a labor of love from a couple of folks I used to know in Atlanta. I still know them, but I no longer live in Atlanta. But they have been running this like a club, which means it's a Facebook group, which means it's live streaming video, but they do shows. They book an entire week's worth of shows, hour-long sets, so you can get on there and see what their schedule is, and you can get turned on to a whole bunch of really good diverse music, mostly from the Atlanta area, but more and more from other places as well. That's the lovely thing about streaming, right? I'm in Chicago, and what am I doing? Also, make sure you check out Leo Huang, Hwang. He's doing sort of solo electric guitar instrumental stuff, and also at times playing with a three-piece band, although they are socially distant from one another. So there are three different instruments, all playing in different places, but all happening at the same time. But that's Leo Huang. He doesn't have a set schedule. I just call it intermittent awesomeness. Tonight and every Friday night, my friend Rahul Deep Gill, out on the West Coast, is doing an Instagram talk show where he interviews people kind of on the front lines doing activism and art. And so his show is called Deep in This, and it goes live every Friday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time, which is 8 p.m. Central and 9 p.m. Eastern. So that's Rahul Deep Gill's Deep in This, live on Instagram, not Facebook, but on Instagram, live from the left coast. Mondays at 2 p.m., the great musician Jonatha Brooke is doing her Kitchen COVID concerts, and that's every Monday, live streaming on Facebook at 2 p.m. Central. Jonatha Brooke, the Kitchen COVID concerts. My friend Tracy turned me on to this. All next week at 7 p.m. Central each night, there's a kind of join up between Bloodshot Records and the Mercury Lounge in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah, the Mercury Lounge, Tulsa. And they're doing every night this week, Monday through Friday at 7 p.m., they're doing a live set with a different artist. So please do check out Bloodshot Records and Mercury Lounge, Tulsa at 7 p.m. each night this coming week. So that Monday through Friday. I don't know if they'll continue that after just this week, but at least that's happening. Also, tonight and every Friday, it looks like, my friend from Chicago Theological Seminary, Brian E. Smith, is going to be spinning the discs. So he's going to be doing DJ and house music starting at 8:30. I don't know how long he's going to be going, but some of the last weeks that he's done it, he's gone for 3 or 4 hours. So if you're looking for something to do later tonight after the kids have gone to bed, check out Brian E. Smith on Facebook Live, spinning music for your pleasure, starting at 8:30 Central Time. All right. And like I say, she messaged me about that Bloodshot Records thing. Please, if you know of stuff that's happening on Facebook or anywhere that I can help to amplify, please know, and I'll be happy to add it to my pad of paper of fun over here. All right, we're going to continue with the music, and this is another song with a story behind it. I still dream of Organon. I wake up crying and making rain, and you're just in reach. You in sleep escape me. You're like my yo-yo that glowed in the dark. What made it special? Made it dangerous, so I buried it and forget it. But every time it rains, you're here in my head, like the sun's coming out. Ooh, I just know that something good is gonna happen. I don't know when, but just saying it could even make it happen. On top of the world, looking over the edge, you could see them coming. You looked too small in that big black car to be a threat to the men in power. I hid my yo-yo in the garden. I can't hide you from the government. Oh God, Daddy, I won't forget. But every time it rains, you're here in my head, like the sun's coming out. Ooh, I just know that something good is gonna happen. I don't know when, but just saying it could even make it happen. Yeah, 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 oh, oh. I'm cloud busting daddy, yeah, yeah, oh. Every time it rains, you hear in my head like the sun's coming out. Looks like your sun's coming out. You hear in my head. Ooh, I just know that something good is gonna happen. I don't know when, but just saying it could even make it happen. Oh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 Okay, that song's got a story. So that's Cloudbusting by Kate Bush, and it's off of an amazing album that she did called Hounds of Love, which is just, it's a stellar album if you've never heard it. The entire album is like just beautiful and beautifully executed. But that particular song, Cloudbusting, I'll kind of walk you through it. So it's written in response to, inspired by, under the umbrella of, if you want to, a book by a fellow named Peter Reich called The Book of Dreams. And Peter Reich was the son of Wilhelm Reich. And Wilhelm Reich believed that he had discovered the secret invisible energy that makes all life happen. And he called that invisible energy orgone. And he believed that he could manipulate orgone by using these incredibly intricate boxes that were made of like metal, like steel, and then cotton, and then wood, and then steel wool, and then more steel, kind of layered one within the other. And he called these things orgone accumulators. And he believed that, like, if you had a wound, like a cut, and you sat in an orgone accumulator for an hour, your cut would heal faster. He believed that if you were sick, that you could sit in an orgone accumulator and you would get healthy faster. He believed that it concentrated the life energy. Okay, and so he had a farm that he used as his laboratory, and he called that farm Organon. And so the first line of that song, I Still Dream of Organon, is thinking about Peter Reich's childhood at this crazy lab out in the woods where these boxes were used to accumulate orgone energy. All right, but the other thing that Wilhelm Reich believed that he could do with orgone energy was he believed he could control the weather. And so he built a machine that was connected to the orgone accumulator boxes, and he would point it at the sky, and he would believe that he could make the clouds appear or disappear, and that he could make the rain come, or that he could remove the rain by manipulating this orgone energy. And so Cloudbusting is a song about Peter Reich, the little boy Peter Reich, standing at his father's side, looking up as his father is controlling the weather, or supposedly controlling the weather. Well, the unfortunate end to the story is that the Federal Drug Administration, the FDA, did not like the claims, the health claims that Wilhelm Reich was making about his orgone boxes, because they believed that he was a quack. And so they ended up arresting him, and he actually ended up dying in jail. I don't even think that he had been sentenced yet, but he was just awaiting trial, is my understanding. And so this book by Peter Reich, The Book of Dreams, is him remembering all of these crazy things about his father who was taken from him far too young. And it's kind of this 150-page love letter
to his father, but it's not romantic. It's not weepy. It's instead like, I don't understand you, but I'm trying to understand you, and I'm trying to understand what you meant and what you meant for me. And it's just a beautiful book, but it's also a beautiful song that kind of moves from that idea. And so there's this line at the end where Kate Bush is singing, like the sun's coming out, like your son is coming out. And like, Peter Reich finding his own voice in the midst of this shadow of his crazy genius father. And so I love playing that song, partly because it's just a beautiful song. And in fact, when Kate Bush played live for the first time in 35 years, she ended her sets with that song because it's a jubilation of a song. But also I love it because of the story behind it. And my favorite songwriters are storytellers. But what's important to get from this is that they don't always make up their own stories. They're constantly bringing stories from other people and reinterpreting them. And I learned to do that from people like Kate Bush and Peter Gabriel and Sting from the Police. Like, Sting writes Tea in the Sahara. Well, that's The Sheltering Sky by Paul Bowles. Or Sting, writes an album that they call Ghost in the Machine. That's Ghost in the Machine by Arthur Kessler. Synchronicity is a book by Carl Jung. So all of these references, through music are beautiful, and they can help they're like breadcrumbs that you can use to find your way to a bigger world. And that, when I was a child, that was how I found my way to a bigger world. I never would have known about Wilhelm Reich if I hadn't have listened and loved this song by Kate Bush. I never would have read Arthur Kessler's Ghost in the Machine if it hadn't been for that Police album. I never would have known who Stephen Biko was, or it would have taken me a lot longer to know who Stephen Biko was if Peter Gabriel hadn't written a song about him. And I hope that in some way through my music, you've learned learned about people like Ralph Eugene Meatyard, and you've learned about Flannery O'Connor, and you've learned about sort of other people like Theodore Sturgeon. These are kind of haunting behind my music. I really do hope that I've helped you in these times together to reach out and find a larger world as well. It's just a beautiful thing, art. It's a beautiful thing to share art and to share ideas, and it's a beautiful thing to share them with you. I'm looking forward to learning more of your ideas as we spend this time together, sheltering in place, socially distant but not socially indifferent. There is freedom within, there is freedom without. Try to catch the deluge in a paper cup. There's a battle ahead, many battles are lost, but you never see the end of the road while you're traveling with me. And now, don't dream it's over. And now, when the world comes in, they come, build a wall between us, and they won't win. Now I'm towing my car, there's a hole in the roof. My possessions are causing me suspicion, but there's no proof. In the paper today, tales of war and of waste, but you turn right over to the TV page. And now, don't dream it's over. And now, when the world comes in, they come, build a wall between us, and they won't win. Now I'm walking again to the beat of a drum, and I'm counting the steps to the door of your heart. only shadows ahead. Barely clearing the roof, get to know the feeling of liberation and release. Hey now, don't dream it's over. Hey now, when the world comes in, they come, build a wall between us, and you know they won't win. Don't let them win. Don't let them win. Don't let them win. Hey now, hey now. Hey now, hey now. Hey now, hey now. Hey now, hey now. Oh, I wish I knew the story behind that song. I bet it's a good one. That's a Crowded House song. Crowded House is fronted by a guy named Neil Finn, who was the brother of another guy named Finn, whose name I don't know. But they were both, before Neil was in Crowded House, they were both in a band called Split Ends. And I've been trying hard to learn some Split Ends songs because they were fantastic. Just a fantastic band from down under. Songs like One Step Ahead and Hard Act to Follow and 6 Months on a Leaky Boat. Love Split Ends and love Crowded House. So happy to play that song. Also happy to play this song. So I have been in many bands in my life, and one of the bands that I was in years ago was a band called Frozen Taco. And Frozen Taco is myself, Theron Welch, Matthew Rice, Carlos Vieira, and Glenn Nelson. Those are all people who have, and Robert Pound also was part of the, and Bobby Ratliff were all part of, and I'm thinking about others as well. Somebody named Hips, I think was it. But anyway, the core of the band when it first started was Glenn Nelson, Theron Welch, Carlos Vieira, and Matthew Rice. And I joined later after Glenn left. Well, they wrote this song, Glenn and Carlos and Matt and Theron, and I have been playing it for years, and I'm very, very glad that they give me space to play it, and that they don't get mad at me for playing it, because it's a great song. But they had created kind of a first body of songs. They were kind of playing just kind of improvised music, and they were all like sophomores and juniors in high school, freshmen, sophomores, juniors in high school, and they were feeling really just ebullient from this first session, and they were taking a snack break, and they're like, "This was great. What will we sing about next?" And Carlos picks up a bag of pecans, and he just says, "Pecans." And so that's where this song came from. A couple of you asked, where did the song come from? I think, Sarah, you asked, where did the song come from? The answer is, it came from a bag of pecans. It came from a bag of pecans. But so much more, so much magic came from that bag of pecans. 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 Pecans are the things that you eat. You go across the road and across the street. You go to the store and buy them there. And you can get in a plane and you can fly in the air. You can't play games like football and soccer. Then you go down and see the foot doctor. He will make you sick. He will make you bleed, but his word you should always heed. Pecans, pecans. You will go to the site where you will find the lordly might. You'll be the king, the man who can rap. And from the other little guys, you will take no crap, because your pecans, you eat them. Pecans, you beat them. Your friends, you will mistreat them, because you're the king and you can beat them. You eat pecans, both night and day. Pecans, they let you play. Pecans, you can feed. Pecans, they are the food you need. We go to Paris, France, Greece, Italy, and there you can always see the women dancing in the street, moving their feet. They are the ones who you'll happen to meet because they want your body, they want your fame, they want your children, they want your very last name. But the thing they want the most you see is the pecans you have bought from me, 'cause I'm the master of rap, the one you know, the best around from head to toe. I like the pecans, I like to eat. I'm down on the ground and I'm up on my feet. Pecans, 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 pecans. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm back every day at around 2 p.m. for more music and mayhem on Shelter Radio. I am so grateful for you. You help to give my day structure and give these endless kind of flow together times meaning. You may not think that you're doing much just by sitting there and watching this, but you are. You're doing it for me, and you're helping to give me some sense of meaning and purpose, but you're also doing it for the least of these, most vulnerable among us. It's important that we care for those, even those that are invisible to us right now, because what we have learned from this moment is how tightly interconnected we all are. Now, I'm proud of you for doing it, and I ask you to keep doing it, even as governors and other authorities are starting to say that it's safe to come outside. Please listen to the experts, those that understand infectious diseases, those that understand epidemiology. Please listen to them and follow their lead, because they don't have a political agenda. They're just trying to keep people safe. And you can do your part by staying where you are. I cannot wait until we can see each other face to face, until we can smile, we can dance together, we can clasp each other by the hands, we can embrace, and we can tell each other we're safe and we made it. Let's help to make sure that everybody gets there. I love you. See you tomorrow. And happy birthday, Silas.